This is Jonathan Robinson, the artist of some of the magnificent work you've seen in this blog, and I just wanted to ask him a few questions for your information. So Jonathan, I'm really curious in all these beautiful pictures, a couple of things. One, why the subject matter of birds?
Well, the bird subject matter came about pretty accidentally. I was living in Bremen, and I was in an artist group there, and I found a little child's card with a bird image on it. And so I just liked the shape of the bird. I just liked that image, and I was looking for something to paint. And you know, we're always looking for something to paint when we're in that field. And so this was a good motif, and I just started to use that. And I ended up doing a very large painting that went to New York for my first show in New York. Called Bird and Plums, and I did a bird on one. It was a giant diptych, and one was a bird, and then the other was a group of plums. And I liked that image, but I could never really actually do it exactly like I wanted to. So I just kept going back to doing birds, and I would stop, and then I would do other things, and I would go back to birds. So it's a kind of motif that comes in and out of my work.
So tell me, why pastels? Why did you switch from oils to pastels, and why do you like working with pastels? Because it's, you know, it's really a very difficult medium to work in as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the reason I started using pastels is because I was doing large paintings that were quite difficult because I kept changing them all the time. It's one of the things that I learned at Berkeley was sort of we wouldn't have a roadmap to where we were going. We would just start painting, and then we would come up with something. And it gets very sloppy. You know, you're using turpentine, your scrapers, you're taking the paint off and putting things back on. And so I started to use these dry pastels because they were easy to take off, and I could work through color problems more quickly and image problems. And much quicker than I could in oil paint. I didn't have to wait for anything to dry.
Well, I'm particularly impressed because I always think of pastels as being so easy to smudge and to ruin, and it's very hard to get a clean line on it, and very hard to get a depth of field and color, and you seem to do all of that very, very well. So,
well, I think when you do them all the time, when you use pastel constantly, which, you know, I do 8 or 10 hours a day, you start to feel very comfortable with that medium, and you can do what you want with it. You learn, you develop your own tricks, you might say, your own kind of formulas for dealing with it, you know. So that's not a problem for me.
And so the last question I have is, you know, you're renovating this beautiful town in the Loire Valley. And from what I understand from you is the proceeds from these paintings will go towards helping you do that. So tell me a little bit about Linieres-Bouton.
Well, Linieres-Bouton is a small village in an area called the Maine-et-Loire, Anjou. And it's 30 kilometers north of the city of Saumur. And I bought part of this village in order to preserve it. I bought land, I bought the blacksmith shop, the dry goods store, this kind of special bowling alley. It's a bowling just from our region. A lot of the other outbuildings, to preserve them and to keep the village in its juice, as the French say. I didn't want developers or architects to come in and to build something that would disfigure the village. And so once I bought it, I've started renovating it, and it's become a great passion. It's a lot, but it costs quite a bit of money because we won't, when we renovate, we save our money and we try to do it right.
Sure.
Meaning that the doors are made of oak. A lot of the metal is hand forged because that's how things were done in the village. And it's not so much about necessarily keeping the authenticity as much as keeping the integrity.
Sure. A little bit like your art, isn't it?
Yes. It's like that. So we really want to keep it so that future generations can have a beautiful place to go to that really looks like it belongs there, that it looks like it's rooted in the soil of that region. And the interesting about Linieres-Bouton and in France in general is that each region has its own look.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons we like to go to France, isn't it? It's because if you're in the
you want that experience.
That experience. You
Sure.
don't want to go somewhere that looks like every other place.
Of course.
In the world. And in order to do that, we have to find the kind of abundance necessary to make that happen.
Well, I'm wishing you a lot of abundance to do that, Jonathan, because I've had the great good fortune of actually visiting there, and it's so magical, and it was really such a pleasure to be there, and I can't wait to go back and take my family and friends with me, and looking forward to that. So thanks to Jonathan for restoring the authentic experience of being in Old World France, and to your art.
Oh, thank you.